Time now for the week that was. Let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines around the globe this week. President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of Infrastructure Support Fund for the 36 states of the Federation as part of measures to cushion the effects of the petrol subsidy removal on the people. The approval was disclosed in Abuja at the monthly meeting of the Federation Account Committee, where 907 billion naira was shared among the 3 tiers of government for the month of June. Also, there are proposals by the National Economic Council to mitigate the effects of the removal of petrol subsidy and the unification of the exchange rate of the naira. The highest economic advisory body to the president questioned the existing National Social Register and recommended that states should be allowed to implement a cash transfer program based on their own social registers. State House correspondent Adesowa Moron reports that the council also proposed a cash reward policy for public servants for 6 months.
It's the second meeting of the National Economic Council chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima under the Tinubu administration. Amid surging inflation and petrol prices, the inevitable focus of discussions was on the palliative measure to ease the impact of subsidy removal. The Council received the report from the subcommittee set up at its inaugural meeting, proposing measures, including allowing states and grassroots governments to implement a cash transfer program.
The states, that are better positioned to do that enumeration so they can ensure the integrity of the social register. And again, it was also proposed by the council that we should implement a cash award policy for all public servants. What's a cash award policy? That would be a policy that allows each subnational to actually pay the public servants a certain prescribed amount of cash on a monthly basis.
For 6 months.
And it was prescribed that should be implemented for 6 months in the first instance. We also talked about ensuring that we paid our public servants outstanding liabilities, whichever way, if it's their pension, if it's their gratuities.
With NEC proposing for governments at the subnational level to implement their register, concerns arose regarding the existing social register and funding for such programs.
At the council today, there was almost near unanimity among members that there is a big question mark about the integrity of the so-called National Social Register. People have questions about how those names in the register were brought about. The integrity test is what is missing with that register. This is stress testing it, and we think that we need to go back to the drawing board. And if you are delivering any such national or federal program from Abuja, it needs to be delivered via the constituent governments that are there at the roots, and each will now generate using their own formal and informal mechanisms to generate a register that is comprehensive, that is, meets certain criteria that you can stress test, and you can call out the people in the village and everybody will confirm that these are the vulnerable people. And we did highlight as well that there is quite some fiscal surplus that will be coming to the states and local government and the federal government. And there we've suggested it will be nice that you can implement cash transfers subject to your financial capacity.
Other recommendations included funding MSMEs with low-interest loans, implementing the energy transition plan, and addressing food security.
Food is a key component of what is on the table in terms of food security, the escalation of prices of foodstuff, and so on and so forth. And it was gladdening because NEC engaged with NEMA, with the CBN, and indeed with the Ministry of Agric. And we have some buffer stock that is already there with NEMA, and the Council has directed the states will be allocated immediately substantial portion of food items grains and so on and so forth for distribution, so that the prices of foodstuff will come down and it will be given at a subsidized rate or at the rate at which it is acquired from NEMA.
There's also a fund burner that we believe that once that happens, because when you look at the percentage of civil servants or public servants in every state, they are just a trickle. But these kind of measures would also ensure that these interventions trickle down to MSMEs.
The meeting also mentioned the possibility of negotiating a new minimum wage over time, while clarifying that the allocation to be shared between federating units for June would be around 900 billion naira, not the speculated 2 trillion naira, to moderate its impact on the system. Overall, the Council emphasized the need for all tiers of government to be responsive to the people's sufferings and address the cost of governance. They also stressed the need for balanced investment for sustainability. It is left to be seen how quick and how far these proposals by the National Economic Council will move the needle for suffering Nigerians. From the presidential villa, Adesuwa Omoruan, Arise News.
Very important reporter from of course, presidential villa correspondent Adesuwa. Now, I like the way she ended that report as well. How quick and how far? Because, you know, it almost seems as if for the longest time we've been reading about these palliatives on the front pages of the newspapers, but it's not getting to who it needs to get to. This in itself, just looking at the total distributable revenue, we're looking at 907 billion. The federal government received 345 billion, states got 295 billion, and the local government received 218. Now, this is fine that they are thinking about the Nigerian people and how they can quickly provide succor. But I think my biggest issue with this, outside of the clamor for the change of the social register, is that why were these conversations not had sooner? Why were these conversations not had before the announcement was made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu during his inauguration speech? These are the conversations that should have been had so that as soon as the fuel subsidy kicks in, there's already a cushion that has been provided by these palliatives. Now there's a clamor for the social register to be updated. Before, we're looking at a copy and paste from the Buhari administration, but there's been arguments that a lot of the 12 million poor households that were supposed to receive this cash transfer, a lot of them are unbanked. A lot of them are not necessarily even identified on that cash register. If we're looking at the social register, if we're looking at a lot of people that have fallen into the poverty bracket line from the beginning of this year till now, will not be included in that register from before. These are good steps, but why didn't we have these conversations before? And a very important thing that he mentioned there was food security. You see, that is the lowest hanging fruit in my opinion. We need to be able to make sure that these farmers, because with the food moves from the north to down to the south. We have to make sure that these farmers are able to actually access their farms and get the harvest and make sure that it gets down to the south. And apart from that, even out of the gate, we know that about 40% of the food, before it even gets down to the southwest and the east and all of that, 40% of the food spoils even before it leaves because we don't have the right preservation. We don't have silos. These are the things that we need to start looking at. I applaud NEC for, of course, coming out and making sure that they are they are fixing the little plug and plays that they should have done since. But please let this thing move away from the front pages of newspapers. Let the real people that need to get these monies or get this infrastructure support fund get it as soon as possible.
Well, I mean, Shaitan, you're correct, but at what point did FEC, namely the governors, discover that the National Social Register lacks integrity? At what point? This is the social register that everybody has been asking who's on it. Many of the names there were generated from the states. World Bank was involved, state governors were involved, NGOs were involved. And that's the register that the former administration, an APC government too, used in distributing billions of naira to the people. At what point did they discover that it is no longer, that it failed the integrity test? Okay, let's agree that they have discovered that, and now they are saying that they have to update it. Let us hope that what will happen is not just that party members in each respective state
will now
will be the ones that they will, load onto the register, and therefore the palliative that is meant to, support the poor and the vulnerable will now become a party thing, to certain members. And people are already saying that, could it be that, certain people of certain origin in many states will be excluded when you are now upgrading and compiling, this list. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, will have to be wary and careful as to how he listens to these sort of suggestions. Yes, it is important to upgrade. It is important to know what is going on. But then let the people see, what you have done. Because if you are saying that it has failed the integrity test, that automatically requires that you should probe what has been done in the past. The same way that when you say that you are removing fuel subsidy, who are those who have benefited? Who are those that you transferred money to that didn't deliver? So that you don't just, willy-nilly transfer the burden to the masses, whereas some other people are saying, okay, we wait for the next opportunity and we'll move on. Definitely. It is important. Yes, it is good that the FEC is saying, let us review and let us renew, but we must go beyond that and find out how it was done and what happened.
In the first place.
All right. Okay, so we move on. Moving on to the next story, save for unforeseen circumstances or last-minute change of permutations, the leadership of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, guided by President Bola Tinubu, may settle for former governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Ganduje, as his substantive national chairman. Although the preferred candidate for the office of national secretary was not clear yet, a former governor of Osun State, Boyega Oyetola, was said to have been penciled in for the position, though Oyetola was believed not to be particularly keen because of his ambition to return to office as governor of Osun State. The announcement of the resignation of the former national chairman of the party, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and National Secretary, Senator Yola Omishori, of the governing APC, continues to cause ripples. While this dust is yet to settle, our senior correspondent, Ndi Amago, has been speaking with a cross-section of party leaders and members.
The acting APC national chairman, Senator Abubakar Kyari, announced the resignation of Abdullahi Adamu and Yola Omishore. Many chieftains and members of the party have been speaking on the resignation. The accusations against the duo range from the alleged high-handedness of Adamu while handling party matters to non-accountability of party funds, including the non-adherence to the party's constitution. APC chieftain and former Minister of Telecommunications, Adebayo Shitu, speaks on the issue and the best way out for the party.
It is better to leave the stage when the ovation is loudest. So for me, I see this as nothing extraordinary, because they did not wait, for instance, for perhaps a vote of no confidence to have been passed against them. They looked at the atmosphere and found out that it was better for them to have this. So for me, I still want to congratulate them for making their own contributions to the growth and development of the party, particularly in the last almost 2 years.
But the controversy of the leadership of the party not presenting a formal letter of resignation from Adamu and Omishore to the public still remains.
Well, did anybody ask whether there was need for him to exhibit a letter or not? He said he had resigned, and they have not come out to say they have not resigned. So we have to take our God's word for what it is.
On the question of Adamu working at cross purposes with the president, whom it is alleged never supported Tinubu, Longes Anyanwu, a party chieftain, says
If the president feels that this time we must pursue the manifesto of the party as he represents with vigor, and I need a team that will work with me in the proper interpretation of the spirit and letters of the party, that subsists. And not after the emergence of the leadership of the National Assembly, a man who is supposed ordinarily, even if there was a mistake, supposed to come and defend it. You not say you are not part of it. You are dancing naked in the marketplace.
Except for Odigwe Oyegu, no past chairman of the party has finished his term. Looks like the party can get a grip on its internal democracy.
The bigger every political party becomes, the more complicated its handling becomes as well. And the party has become a huge behemoth, and it requires a 21st century manager to be in charge.
And as party members await a new direction for the APC, there are reports that some former governors may be nominated through a consensus to take charge of the party after a rescheduled NEC meeting, an emergency national convention. Ndi Amuko, Arise News.
All right, so I mean, the bigger a party becomes, the bigger the problems. I'm not so sure how many people will miss the former Nasarawa State Governor, the chairman of the party, the former chairman of the party. I'm not sure. Haughty, arrogant, sometimes a bit uncouth, but here we are. We had an interview with him about 13 months ago, before the elections and primaries and everything. He was haughty, And then we said to him that, are you sure in the event that your candidate wins the party, you be Muslim, the candidate be Muslim, the vice president be Muslim, are you sure that you will retain the position? And he's, was blabbing and, puffing and everything. But here we are, he's gone. I'm not sure how many people will miss him. Iyola Omishore, not an Asiwaju person by any stretch of the imagination. But again, this is what has happened. The party grew bigger, it needed to win an election, and people said, okay, let's just see how it goes. But they are gone. And I hope that they are gone for good, really. So APC will have to now define how they want to proceed in an Asiwaju presidency. Will it be Ganduje? Will it be any other person? Will the former governor of Osun State, Oyetola, come as secretary or whatever? Or will it be somebody from Osun State? We were hearing of, the former senator and everything. We'll see how it pans out. But then,
I mean, just to add on very quickly, I mean, it's been said that, according to sources, that the president, of course, there's a push for Ganduje. He was supposed to be, his name had come up as one of the names, that was supposed to end up on the ministerial appointment list. But because, obviously, because of the trust and the confidence that, the president has in him, of course, in the former governor, they're trying to see maybe they can change his mind and make sure. But the thing is, right now, it's just a lot of assumptions, a lot of names being thrown around. But as with all things, even from the beginning, from the top, from the president to the vice president to the head of the Senate, when it is time for your name to be nominated or to be put out there, of course, Arise News will be there to cover the news and let you know exactly.
Where's the minister?
We're still waiting for the list. It was supposed to have come out this week. We're still waiting. Our eyes are waiting for the list to drop at any moment. But let's move on to our next story now. Last story, Nigeria's labor union, NLC, has rejected the hike in the pump price of petrol. NLC says it is provocative and totally unacceptable. In a statement, NLC President Joe Ajero says the 18% increase is designed to worsen the poverty level and hardship in Nigeria. The labor union also condemns the proposed handout of 8,000 as palliatives to 12 million households. It warns that it may be forced to withdraw from talks with the federal government over its handling of the matter. I think the biggest thing about this increase, apart from a person now, when I bought fuel that morning, I was like, okay, this is really becoming, this is real life now. We're not playing any games, you know. The current fuel pricing for me, I'm afraid that it's not reflective of what is actually being sold. I want to know exactly. Tell us how these fuel prices have been calculated. And the reason why I'm saying this is because in comparison to the market figures, in comparison to other countries, a lot of people are saying that the prices are even currently low. I know that it's been compared, it's been said it's because of the, you know, the current exchange rate. They're looking at what crude oil is, on the market, how much is dollars now, we're looking at all of that, and that affects it. But if it is completely based on a fluctuating dollar rate, then something really needs to be done. At the price of crude, something needs to be done fast, because we cannot wake up in a country that is already wallowing in poverty, wake up and say that fuel cost 1,000 naira. Let's not forget that we're even talking about Lagos being a concentrated area selling for 617. I've heard about stories in the north, in the east, where fuel is actually selling for as high as 800 naira. So it needs to be addressed quickly rather than later.
Yeah, but you know, last month we said that there were indications that it might go up to 700. NMPC came out and said, oh no, there's not going to be anything like that, blah, blah, blah. Here we are, 600 and something. As you said, in a few other places, 700, perhaps more than 700. I think it was Dayo Shobowale, your good friend.
Yes.
On Newsday that said, Nigerians didn't vote for market forces. Nigerians voted for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the vice president to make sure that life is meaningful to the people.
For renewed hope.
Well, I mean, so let's know what's going on. Even if market forces will determine what the issues are, let it be communicated in a way that people will have a good understanding of why we are where we are. Will it get to 1,000 before the dollar gets to 1,000?
Only time can tell.
Only time can tell.